there's a lot in NFL free agency to kind of to get to. I think the biggest one, I guess, the shocker. We were going to do like winners and losers type deal, but or good, bad, fugly. But honestly, like to me, the Seahawks probably the most interesting of all of it, right? Like what the Seahawks trading away Geno and DK,
Hmm.
then giving Sam Darnold to 30 million, 40
Yeah.
something crazy.
Hmm.
What did you think of the kind of the Sam Darnold deal there?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of the same thought that you had, right? It was like a head scratcher. We're like, all right, well, why? Like, why would you trade Geno Smith in place for Sam Darnold? For all intent and purpose, had a great season, but this was the only pretty much great season he's had, as opposed to a
Yeah.
guy that you had been rolling with, who's been doing pretty good with you. And I don't know if it's just a part of a greater rebuild or what. And not that Gino's in a bad spot now in Vegas, especially with Pete Carroll at the helm. But it was one of those like, well, how'd you put a head scratcher? It was one of those like, oh, that's that's interesting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Um, if I'm a Seahawks fan, I'm pissed off. Like I'm it, you guys went from like I don't want to say knocking at the door. You're farther. You took two steps back to me.
Yeah.
Like you were a good team, competitive. I guess I don't know,
Hmm.
but a 3 year. What did Sam Darnold do for you? For a 3 year, $100 million contract with what 50 million guaranteed. Like it's I'm concerned about the guy gave you one really good year. You know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't like he gave you have this long track record of just
Yeah.
great Sam Darnold tape, and it was like the teams around him weren't good. No, he hasn't been good.
No.
Struggling to play in Carolina, backing up in San Francisco, things like that. Seeing ghosts on the Jets, I think the big part of the Sam Darnold story was that he kind of came out of nowhere, like that resurgence with the Vikings because people gave up on him,
Yeah.
but now there's expectations, man. Like I got to see more than 1 year. Again, it brings me to my Cam Newton analogy. We have 115 and one amazing, one of the greatest seasons we've ever seen, but then it makes us kind of forget like the 13 years of 7 and 9. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
Sam Darnold has been average to probably below average 90% of his career.
Yeah.
And
And so
then he goes
Jefferson as a receiver and Aaron Jones in the backfield, then
and a great play caller and a great coach
yeah,
like Kevin O'Connell,
yeah,
and so I would have, again, I can't blame him. This is not a Sam Darnold criticism. This is just
no.
like we get how the
If anything,
market
it's more the
works.
Seahawks criticism because
Yeah.
you figure see it Tyler Lockett
Mhm.
and then DK out, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, and once the Geno news hit, you're like, okay, and then Sam Darnold, you're like, so it is, I guess, just a full on. I'll call it a rebuild,
Yeah.
but I mean,
It
what did they
feels like
give
that.
Darnold?
3 years, 100 million. I think it's 50
Yeah,
something.
that's
It's
I guess I need to level set my expectations when it comes down to paying quarterbacks. And you would think I would have learned my lesson by watching the Giants give Daniel Jones better part of 40 million for 2 years that he was
mhm.
serviceable. Like what I guess that's just the going rate for mediocre quarterbacks. And
Yeah.
case in point, Daniel Jones just got 14 million for 1 year in the Colts, and then Justin Fields
Yeah.
30 million
Yo, you
guaranteed.
want to talk about
Like,
a shocker? A shocker. Justin Fields signing with the Jets, 2 years, 40 million, and you said 30 of it was guaranteed.
let me
Man.
just double check. I thought it was very similar to a Saquon deal, where I think
Hmm.
Saquon had at least it was like 31.9 or almost 32 guaranteed. And he's got incentives in there too. But Justin Fields, when I saw it, I was like literally like, what? Like, yeah, 2 years, 40 million. And I thought, let's see, 30 mil guaranteed. $30 million. The Jets, and this is the Jets jetting to the
Yes.
the the greatest extent of what is that franchise. And look, Justin Fields has potential. There is upside there, but to give this man $30 million guaranteed before he even steps foot on a football field is insanity to me. Absolute insanity. I said
I
the same thing about Russell Wilson.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
When Denver extended him immediately, and you're like,
yeah.
he hasn't even thrown a pass yet. Like,
Hmm.
what is happening right now? And we all see how well that turned out.
I the thing with Justin Fields is I know people are going to keep hanging on to potential and skill and act like he hasn't had any opportunity. He's had plenty of opportunity to grow. He's not some like dwindling, and I get that he's young and stuff, but
It's 26.
I got you, man. But like these franchise quarterbacks, you kind of know, you know what I mean? Like
Oh, I agree with you. Yeah.
and to give a guy who has been struggling to become a starter $30 million guaranteed,
Hmm.
and I get it. The Jets had to find a starting quarterback. And I guess it makes sense for the Jets to do it because they do have excellent skill players around Justin Fields. They have a defense that probably took a step back, but still a pretty solid defense. Maybe Aaron Glenn can fix a lot of that and make that a defensive team. Maybe Justin Fields doesn't have to do as much, but I mean, the tape is out on Justin Fields. He doesn't do anything well other than run. And I don't know if you checked or if you noticed, Bert. He's a quarterback. You need him to throw the ball, and he can't throw the
Yeah.
ball. Yeah, like you have a quarterback that can't throw. Hey, maybe having a Brees Hall helps. Maybe a defensive coach to help him see the things that he's not seeing. And that's really the big thing for me with Justin Fields. I haven't seen any growth. I haven't seen it at all. And I get, and people are going to tell you that, when Tomlin is subbing you in and out for specialty packages, things like that, the opportunities he did have, he doesn't look like he's learned anything from anybody. He looks like the same guy that got drafted. And it's not, this guy he has a couple of years under his belt
Yeah.
now. Like it's time. Like, and I'm only speaking in terms of franchise quarterback. Like at this point, it's like, you kind of know already. You know what I mean? Like we talk about it all the time. Josh Allen's rookie year wasn't great, but you saw the greatness in it. Like I haven't
Yeah.
seen that in Justin Fields, so it's just a head scratcher.
Yeah. I'm looking at his career number. I mean, like when you break it down by season, now granted, I mean, the first three with the Bears, I mean, I guess you can salvage a part of his 2022 season.
Hmm.
I mean, the issue is you mentioned great runner, right? So the
Yeah.
rushing yards there, he's mobile quarterback, but he's going to have to throw. And I mean, he hasn't thrown for, I mean, over really one season, 2,500 yards.
Not gonna
Like
get it done, bud.
it's not, it's, I mean, there's going to be a lot of garbage time TDs in Jets games, but
Yeah.
uh, hey, we'll see. Sam Darnold, right? Sam
Yeah.
Darnold.
Yeah.
So you never know.
Um, Rams, Devontae Adams, 2-year deal,
Yeah.
releasing Cooper Cup.
Yeah.
Um, listen, I get Adams aging a little bit, but I think he's shown you flashes that he can still be a good number two. I think his number one days are behind him, but at least in this setup that the Rams have, he's not going to be relied upon to save the day like he was for the Jets. Like when Aaron Rodgers got the Jets to make that trade for him,
Hmm.
having probably a better receiver in this point in time, in Puka Nakua is going to help Devontae Adams out a little bit, if not, or help the offense. Like you can't double both of them. You know what I mean? So the Rams it's a very good side, probably one of the better ones. Because the Rams have a nice offense. I know Devontae's a big fan of the West Coast, wanted to get back out there to the West Coast. So, shout out to him. Shout out to him for getting it done and getting back to where he needs to be. But
Hmm.
um, the Rams, it's all going to hinge on Matt Stafford, right? His health. Like, hey, man, he's aging. I know he wants to play.
I mean, he just signed a contract, right?
Signed a contract. He thinks he could still do it at whatever the high level is to him is, I guess. But I would. The Rams got to be careful here. This feels not desperate, but this feels like last ditch effort. You know what I mean? Like this just feels like a.
Listen, here's the thing with the Rams. We knew that they mortgaged somewhat because they're still a
Mhm.
competitive team. But when they won the Super Bowl that year, they essentially mortgaged their future in terms of how they were going to build the team to win that year. And
Mhm.
since then, not for nothing, if Matt Stafford is healthy, they've been a competitive football team. So they're not too far removed from a Super Bowl win.
Right.
This could help them in the end too. And although, I mean, they, for some reason, I don't know if it was just being injury prone or inconsistency with Cooper Cup, but I mean, let him go, which is great for the football world because he can end up somewhere else. But But yeah, when you make a signing like this, hey, why not? Like, stay competitive in their division and, see if they can get back to it. I agree with you that this seems like the second attempt at a last ditch effort, because if not,
Yeah.
it's all for nothing.
Shocked that DK Metcalf went to the Steelers.
I'm
Uh,
not.
I'm a
It's a
little
good it's
shocked.
a good landing point for him.
It's it's an okay landing spot for him. My issue is the you get a second round pick for him, which is fine because I don't think he's good enough for a first round pick, or at least he
Mhm.
hasn't been. And he's probably too good to give up for like third, fourth, fifth round picks if you're the Seahawks.
Yeah.
The issue I have with it is they're not built to win right now. Like they don't have a quarterback, and you have
That's
two
the biggest piece, right?
right. You have two mercurial receivers. You have George Pickens there, who we've
Yep.
seen show the attitude. You have DK, who has shown attitude
Mhm.
when the quarterback or they're not getting their way. You have two guys. Ken and Mike Tomlin's probably the guy to kind of handle that. But
Yeah.
if I'm the Steelers, man, like I probably would have. I don't know. I don't know if I would have made that move knowing that the quarterback is not in play. Like they better hope they get Aaron Rodgers.
Maybe they made
Uh,
the move in hopes to attract Aaron Rodgers, or,
mm,
I don't know who else is out there, right?
I
Like
mean,
it's
Russ, right? But like
well,
neither one of them.
but
Here's
they're kind of showing that they don't want Russ back.
right.
That's the thing. So
I think it's less that they don't want Russ back. I think they know that Russ doesn't have a market, and they know Aaron Rodgers doesn't
mm,
have a market. It's the Giants or the Steelers. You know what I
or
mean? And
Minnesota.
man, I think Minnesota was cool. I don't think they let Sam Darnold go thinking we're going to get Aaron Rodgers. I think they let him go thinking we can. Like we drafted JJ McCarthy. Like
Yeah.
we drafted him with our first pick.
So more or less, like if they land a Russ or an Aaron Rodgers, great. If not,
Mhm.
we're fine.
Yeah, like they were already ready to roll with JJ McCarthy until he tore his ACL, and I get it.
Yeah.
One half of preseason football, he looked pretty good. And um, if anything, even if you don't believe because you're not sure about JJ, Kevin O'Connell resurrected Sam Darnold's career, a guy that we considered a bust, a guy that people forgot about. And if he can make Sam Darnold look good, I got to imagine a rookie quarterback that has a little bit better or more intangibles can probably make it happen. Um, with Kevin O'Connell. Again, a great coach can definitely make a good QB.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Obviously, with point improving with the Vikings this year, Sam Darnold wasn't just this. He wasn't just this aberration that we all missed, right? Like he wasn't good. Like he got with the right coach, got
Yep.
in the right system. Is that going to translate? Maybe that confidence for him will translate over to Seattle. I don't know who Seattle's coach is at the moment. I think it's McDonald, something like that. I
Yeah, I
can't
mean, you
can't
hope
remember.
that carries over, and if it doesn't, it doesn't, right?
Yeah.
You mentioned Aaron Rodgers. Let's get this
Hmm.
out of the way.
Hmm.
So we're not thinking, and by we I mean you, not thinking
Hmm.
Minnesota's even in the picture now. So realistically speaking, he's got Pittsburgh
Hmm.
and he's got the Giants.
Yep.
Russ is also meeting with the Giants. So what team do you think is better fit for Aaron Rodgers right now?
The best fit for Aaron Rodgers, if Minnesota's out of the picture, I would say, man, this is gonna sound crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Tennessee.
Oh,
If I was in Tennessee, and I don't hear their name much, but I
yeah.
I did hear that their odds went up to 61%
Mm-hmm.
to trade that number one pick. If I'm Tennessee, Aaron Rodgers right now is better than anything that's in the draft currently. You know you need more than just a quarterback, so why draft one? You trade back, you pick up some extra spot things in the draft that you need. You have Aaron Rodgers, you already have decent running backs, you already have Calvin Ridley, good
Mm-hmm.
receivers. You work on that defense, you work on some things, and Tennessee with Aaron Rodgers as a gap now, and then you draft your quarterback next year, where the draft class is a little bit deeper. This is probably a one and a half quarterback draft class in this year's draft, and depending on how you feel about Shador, you know, Aaron
Yeah.
Rodgers right now, and then you trade back. So if I'm Tennessee, I'm thinking that would be the best fit. Do I see that happening? No, I do see him ending up in a Minnesota or a Pittsburgh situation. But if Tennessee would be the best, and then on top of that, because if you land in Minnesota, you got the Lions there, you got the Packers there. If you land in Pittsburgh, you have the Ravens and you have the Bengals you got to compete with. So it's like when you go to Tennessee, you're in the AFC South. You know what I mean? Like, so
Yeah.
if you're Aaron Rodgers and you're thinking my easiest path back to success, it's an easier division. It's probably one of the better teams in terms of roster construction in the division. I'm not worried about the Jags because I just don't know what they are.
Yeah.
Who's the other AFC South team? I mean, the Texans, right? Like that would be uh, that would be the only other is Texans
Competitive
AFC
team
South?
there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and well, the Colts too, but I mean, we'll
The
see what
Colts
Daniel
just
Jones
signed
does.
Daniel Jones. They
For
don't know what they want.
$14 million.
Man, listen, these backups will get it done. But I mean, listen, Danny
13,
Dimes,
13 fully guaranteed. And a
that's
$6
an
million sign-on bonus. This is ridiculous.
tough.
I'm so glad I didn't look into this contract the other day
Yeah.
because that would have been absurd. But now that I'm looking at it, I'm like,
Mhm.
I don't know. I need Daniel Jones's agent to negotiate everything to me just short of sex with my wife.
Yeah.
This is insane. To
Yeah.
get this much out of Daniel Jones, this dude's a master class of negotiation.
Um, yeah, hey man, listen, Daniel Jones' agent knows how to get that money. He got that money from the Giants.
For real.
The Sam Darnold thing honestly feels like a lot like the Daniel Jones thing. I do believe Sam Darnold is better than Daniel Jones, but it feels like, hey, we got to spend this money. We need a quarterback.
Yeah.
We got to pay somebody, and Sam Darnold just happened to be the lucky gal at the dance.
Yeah.
Um,
Getting back to, I'm
Okay.
sorry, go ahead.
No, go.
I was going to say, getting back to Aaron Rodgers, I see your point about Tennessee. I mean, at this point, since we haven't heard their name, my guess is they're just going to use their number one pick, draft who they think their top quarterback is going to be, and go from there. And if not, they have Mason Rudolph to fall back on. But that seems to be their play. I haven't heard them in any conversations. I haven't heard about Aaron Rodgers meeting with them, which makes me think that it's either going to be Pittsburgh or the Giants. And after some very deep reflection off of what was a knee-jerk reaction of me saying, why would we want Aaron Rodgers? I think I'm going back to the side of, fuck it, let's give it a shot.
Yeah.
He's still and you have to separate person from quarterback. He's still a decent quarterback, not top of his game anymore, but definitely still there. We just signed Slayton 3 years, gave him Saquon money.
God.
And
you upset about that?
No, not really, because I mean, like at the end of the day, looking back, great for him, right? He's got a Super Bowl out of it. But I don't think our line at the time, and still probably is, would have been good for him. Saquon was successful last year because of how the Eagles were built. We were never going to be able to give that to him. And,
that's true.
When you don't have a solid offensive line or even a solid offense, it's going to be nothing but, I mean, how healthy was Saquon last year? Like, he didn't miss a game. Like, that's the thing. Like, with the Giants, he probably would have been beat up because, I mean, what do you hope to gain 1.5, 2 yards, and then boom. Like, it's just, so I think we had to go out this year, sign a receiver long term. And then, of course, next step is going to be the quarterback. But for me, when looking at Aaron Rodgers, he can be that guy.
Yeah.
And I don't care so much about his personality or getting coaches or GMs fired or anything like that, because at this point, I think this is going to be the last year regardless for them. They have to show improvement. Otherwise, they're on the chopping block. So, like, it's win-win for us. One, we get to see an Aaron Rodgers throw for us and hopefully make us competitive, or he blows it up like kind of the fan base wanted to last year, flying planes around the stadium saying this is enough, sell the team. So, I mean, why not? But with that said, I think Rodgers would probably want to go to Pittsburgh. They seem more competitive. Their defense is certainly a lot better too. Unless he just wants to stay in New York,
Yeah. The other move, Geno Smith traded to the Raiders. I like Geno Smith. I think he's a top 15 quarterback. He can make the high end throws. He needs some help around him. He's, I don't know what the Raiders' plan is, but they have Pete Carroll there now, so maybe he can recreate some of that. The guy who helped kind of rejuvenate Geno Smith's career, and you know, Gino's in his mid-30s, man. He's like he's running out of time.
He was traded for a third round pick,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah.
It's like it's all right, man. I think I don't even know if they did anything with his contract. I think it's just still the
No.
same. But
Yeah, it's
yeah,
the same. I'll carry it
it's the
over.
same. It
Yeah.
just carried over. But um, I if they want to compete soon, it makes sense to the Raiders. They don't have time to wait on a Cam Ward or they don't have time for a rookie quarterback to develop. Right? They just don't. Like with Pete Carroll's 70 something years old. You know what I mean? So I think
Yeah.
they're and Gino again. This goes back to just the draft class, right? I think a lot of these teams are recognizing, hey, this draft class sucks, and we don't have time, or depending on cap, free agency coming up, it could be a different thing. Just a couple smaller moves. Washington retooled Debo Samuel trade, which was big.
Yup. Yeah, I'm
Um,
just looking at their now. They re-sign Ertz,
yep.
re-sign Bates, Debo's
Mhm.
back in. I mean, they have a backup quarterback in Mariota, re-signing him.
Yep.
So a lot of re-signs. Let's see, beefed up their line a little bit.
Yeah.
Will Harris was a huge signing, though.
It was all of it. Even the Bears made a bunch of moves to their offensive line. They got a new offensive coordinator, and obviously they got Ben Johnson. So
Hmm.
obviously they're going to give Caleb Williams every chance they can possibly have to succeed. And shout out to the Bears. Now, I mean, only if you guys had a quarterback, it would work out perfectly. But we'll see. We'll see what happens with Chicago. They're probably still another year away from truly competing. But
Hmm.
again, if you believe in Caleb. He was the most sacked quarterback last year. And this is what I do like to see from teams.
Hmm.
Offensive coordinator, offensive coach. We have a quarterback that we believe in. He needs help. He's getting destroyed back there. Let's focus all our attention on building a great offensive line. And, time will tell us to see if that happens. But shout out to them. And of course, I'm going to shout out my Bills. Listen, Matt Collins going to the Patriots is a betrayal that I cannot fathom. I don't want to talk about it, but we ended up getting Josh Palmer from the Chargers, which is really nice. He's a
Hmm.
Canadian boy coming back home. Uh, he he'll be a good piece to me. That there's a chance we can still bring back Cooper, but I'm going to assume Cooper is going to go where the money takes him. We got Joey Bosa, which was amazing because
Yeah.
all signs were pointing to him going with his brother.
Yeah.
We offered him $2 extra million, so I guess the price of your family is $2 million. So he came and
I
he,
would. I mean, listen, if someone offered me $2 million to move away from my family, I would
yeah,
too.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so, yeah, yeah, hell yeah. And
Yeah.
so, um, I mean, to be honest, it's a good football move for him too. Like outside
Yeah.
of the money, Buffalo is in a better position to compete. I mean, we talked about the Niners last year, saying you guys got to do something because you have old players on
Hmm.
bad contracts, and people keep getting hurt. And then, of course, last year happened with Brandon Ayuk, CMC in Germany half the year trying to get stem cell injections, trying to come back. And it's like their window is going to close very fast, but that's typically what happens. You capitalize on a window. Now you got to pay Brock Purdy. You paid the
Hmm.
skill players. This is what happens. You have a small window to get it done, and unfortunately for the Niners, that window looks like it's closed. They'll probably have to rebuild here pretty soon. If I was them, I would entertain trading Christian McCaffrey
Yeah.
and getting everything you can. But yeah, Joey Bosa. Listen, a little bit of injury history, but in Buffalo with this scheme, I think pairing him and replacing Von Miller with him is an upgrade, no matter how you slice it. And I think Joey will do well, and it's low risk for us. He's here for a year, so
Yeah.
the Bills are really good at finessing the salary cap, signing Josh Allen to that extension, a well-deserved extension, but not setting the market because he understands that they also need to pay other players and try to keep some of their free agents, which they ended up doing. So hopefully Buffalo. I'm trying not to get too excited about Buffalo, but we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. Um,
Listen, the last thing, because I know we got some other topics, but I mean, being an AFC guy, I need to understand how distraught you are knowing how powerful the Ravens are going to be this year, signing DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, should we even show up to the regular season?
you know, the regular season will be fun, and the Ravens will be dominant.
Yeah.
They may not lose a game, but then the playoffs will start.
Yep.
They are the AFC Cowboys. I don't care what the Ravens are going to do. Ravens can have MVP Lamar Jackson doing things we've never seen with the football and DeAndre Hopkins, blah, 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 blah. But then when the playoffs start, we know what's going to happen. They are the AFC Dallas Cowboys.
That's
So
offensive to
enjoy.
two fan bases.
Good. Two
Yeah.
birds, one stone. No pun intended to the Ravens. But show me your history. I'll tell you your future. We know what time it is. We know what time it is. And not even that. Baltimore's where these great receivers go to die. They had Des Bryant. We've never seen him again. They had Deshaun Jackson that
I
came in.
forgot they had Dez.
Deshaun Jackson came in on the last legs of his career. Never seen him again. Odell Beckham Jr. came in,
No
did
doubt.
nothing. And so you think 30-something-year-old DeAndre Hopkins is going to come in there and make the difference? No thanks, bud. Hey, have fun. Hey, have a blast, Baltimore fans. I can't wait to hear all you Lamar Jackson. But then they'll play the Bills again in the playoffs. Like, we are your Chiefs to our, you know what I mean? Like, the
Yeah.
Chiefs are our Chiefs, obviously, but we are y'all Chiefs. And you just can't get past us. And it's not going to happen with the bones of DeAndre Hopkins. Sorry.